Undock has been commanded, and the umbilical, which provided power to Dragon from the International Space Station, has been detached as well. Now the undock command has been sent, however, we are standing by. This process takes a few minutes. This is a process of 2 sets of 6 hooks each, so 12 hooks in total that we'll need to retract. Those first set of hooks are in motion. We will be looking for a confirmation when that's complete before the second set begins retracting as well. We're expecting time of physical separation to be at 6:05 a.m. Central Time, 7:05 a.m. Eastern Time. Quiet here in Mission Control Houston as teams continue monitoring the departure of Dragon Endeavour. About 3 more minutes until we see physical separation. Those first set of hooks continue to retract.
First set of hooks open and nominal.
Never touches.
The Crew Operations and Resources Engineer in Hawthorne, California at SpaceX Mission Control communicating with the team aboard Dragon Endeavour. Our Crew 6 astronauts coming home today: Steve Bowen and Woody Hoberg of NASA, Sultan Al-Nayati of the United Arab Emirates, and Andrei Fedyayev of Roscosmos. The second set of 6 hooks continues to retract. After those hooks are fully open, we will see 2 short burns known as undock burn 1 and 2, both just a few seconds long, that will break the stiction or the attachment of Dragon to the International Space Station. Again, we're looking at that in about 1 minute. Second set of hooks continue to retract. Standing by for undock burns 1 and 2.
All hooks open and nominal.
Copy, see the same.
And Dragon separation is confirmed.
At 6:05 a.m. Central Time, and after 184 days on the International Space Station, Dragon has departed the orbiting laboratory, traveling 256 statute miles over the Pacific Ocean.
Depart burn 0 complete.
We saw the two successful undock burns, 1 and 2, again, both of the undock burns just a couple of seconds long, as well as confirmation that the depart burn is complete as well. And with the successful undocking, again, that coming at 6:05 a.m. Central Time, right on time, Dragon, Endeavour, and Crew 6 begin their journey back to Earth. We're still monitoring from the International Space Station Flight Control Room here in Houston, but to give us perspective from the other side of the operations, I'll toss it back to Gary and Kate in Hawthorne.
All right, thank you, Leah, for taking us through that. Yeah, we had physical separation right on time, 4:05 a.m. Pacific Time, 7:05 a.m. Eastern Time. You can see we're at a nighttime view as the station and Dragon pass over the Pacific Ocean. So we're just seeing the through the middle window there, inside the lit cabin inside the Dragon, as well as the navigation lights, starboard being green and port being red, as Dragon increases its separation distance from the International Space Station, about 45 meters, and going back. Depart 0 after the two undocking burns to physically separate and increase the distance from the docking ring. Depart 0 will send Dragon outside the Keep Out Sphere. Keep Out Sphere has its own set of rules, is a line about 200 meters away from the International Space Station, so we'll get right outside of that, and we'll wait towards Depart Burn 1. Depart Burn 1 will send Dragon outside the approach ellipsoid. You can see the graphic here. Dragon's trajectory will take it zenith. It'll take it above the International Space Station, and from there it will slow down until it executes Depart Burn 2, which allows the Dragon to decrease its altitude and get to a trajectory about 10 kilometers below the International Space Station in a co-elliptic orbit. For this particular trajectory to meet up with the landing location, the prime location of Jacksonville, Florida, the trajectory allows for 5 departure burns. So we'll see that executed over the next 17 hours until splashdown. We do have a correction to that splashdown time. We're aiming for 12:17 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 9:17 p.m. Pacific Time. And that's again off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida. Continuing to increase separation distance, we're at about 78 meters from the International Space Station.
I love this view that we have. It might be a little confusing if you're just looking at it wondering what all the dots are. The lights that we see actually moving on screen is Dragon itself. The red and green represent the port and the starboard side. That white light in the center is actually an interior light shining through the forward hatch of the capsule. So if we would have been able to perform a fly-around maneuver, that is actually one of the windows that they would have been using to take photos.
That's right, and with the nighttime views, you can actually see some of the pixels that have been, they're actually dead pixels. They sort of look like very colorful, Christmassy light stars, but it's actually dead pixels on the camera that have been hit by some radiation in space. And this is pretty normal for some of the cameras that we see in space. There's actually programs within the camera that allow there's software within it that allow us to fix some of the imperfections of those pixels. But those are not stars. Those are pixels of the camera.
So for those of you that have recently joined the webcast, the Crew 6 crew are there inside Dragon that we see on screen. They are in their spacesuits. They are in their seats. It's been a long morning stepping through all the checks in preparation for the event that we just had, which was Dragon separation. We also executed the first of our 5 departure burns, and we're now standing by for departure burn 1. We're expecting that around 4:10, which is right now, a.m. Pacific. So there's this graphic that we have to kind of give you an idea of the different areas that we're looking at when we're talking about the International Space Station, what it takes to depart. This is an awesome view. You can actually see lights from those Draco thrusters as they fire.
That's depart burn 1. It's about a 21-second burn, and you can see it executing right now. Great to have this nighttime shot to actually see those Draco thruster firings.
Absolutely.
We hear depart burn 1 is complete and nominal. That's a good depart burn 1. Again, that sends a trajectory of Dragon outside the keep out sphere and approach ellipsoid. We'll continue our coverage until Dragon exits the approach ellipsoid, which will end joint operations between the Dragon and Dragon teams here in Hawthorne and the International Space Station Flight Control teams in Houston.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. Depart burn 1 is complete and nominal, and with that, you are go to doff your suits per procedure 4.012, and I'll go ahead and take the cameras external. And just a reminder that ground will be deactivating the big loop following exit from the approach ellipsoid.
Copies moving into suit doffing, spacing for the cameras, and thank you, ISS. It's been an amazing 6 months. It's Crew 7 and 69 Soyuz, continue Expedition 69 and into 70. Enjoy your visit, and we'll talk to you back on Earth.
And Dragon Station, we copy. We're going to miss you guys, but it's good to see you go and get back to your families. Great job on the mission. Godspeed, and we'll see you splashing down safely here in about 17 hours. Great job.
All right, to recap some of the exchange there, that was from inside the Dragon, Commander Steve Bowen sending some congratulatory words for a successful separation and exit of the keep out sphere. Frank Rubio from inside the station saying farewell. On the big loop, this is an audio configuration that allows both teams on the ground, the teams in Houston as well as Hawthorne, and the two spacecraft in orbit, the Dragon and the International Space Station, all to talk on one communication loop. Saying farewell to their crew, they're now outside the keep out sphere, and the next step is the approach ellipsoid. They just got the cue to doff their suits because that next burn, depart burn 2, is not going to happen for another 50 minutes.
Gary, you mentioned the keep out sphere. For those that might be unfamiliar with approaching or departing the International Space Station, it is an imaginary sphere. Obviously nothing physical out there, but it's, as you can see there on your screen, as the name indicates, that is the sphere that you have to have, there's a check to enter the keep out sphere as you approach the International Space Station. It's basically this imaginary sphere about 200 meters all around the International Space Station, and as Gary just said, we are now out of it.
That's right, and that next sphere outside of that is the approach ellipsoid. Each of them has sort of a set of its own rules, the keep out sphere and then the approach ellipsoid. That approach ellipsoid is 4 kilometers by 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers, and once the spacecraft is outside of that imaginary line, it has to be on what's called a 24-hour safe free drift trajectory. So that means the spacecraft wouldn't cross into the approach ellipsoid and risk any recontact with the International Space Station for at least 24 hours, even if it lost all maneuvering.
So again, continuing to track Dragon on its departure from the International Space Station. We had separation at 4:05 a.m. Eastern Time, exactly right on time.